Greetings, dears. That doesn't sound too good, does it? We'll warm it up and see what happens. Big month. Big month past, big month coming. Tell me something really good that happened in this past month.
I was able to swim with dolphins.
Lovely, lovely.
I did finish the triathlon. I made it all the way to the finish line, so.
Excellent.
When I received a call from Gail Stockdale to be sending energy for Heidi, I went into panic, frantically sending energy and visualizing her coming back. And right in the middle of it, I felt like I heard Heidi say, "Let me go, I'm home." And there was immediately a relief that came over me. It was such a gift for me to feel like hearing that happened to other people, that I had been a part of her connection there, that I had connected into her at that moment. It was a real gift.
Lovely, lovely.
I found that losing myself in something creative helps bring me more into a place of balance, and that's very healing. And truly does. It really is a doorway to spirit, and it's a wonderful tool to use.
Good.
I spoke to someone in the administration of the city about respecting my job and my work.
Good for you.
I was contacted by a family I hadn't heard from for a long time, and I entertained a 3-year-old daughter of a mother who's 23 now, whose birthday I had entertained her for. She's 3 years old.
Pretty good.
I had the opportunity this past month to do some volunteer work with some refugees from Congo.
Good.
And it was a gift to see their appreciation, their happiness, their politeness, their respect, their love, just freely given, because there are so many people I run into in job situations where it's not, and it was a breath of fresh air.
I can guarantee they were mirroring you. September had some very, very big energy changes that went on throughout the month. At the beginning of the month, and then again 3/4 of the way through, you had massive outpourings of energy as your world was lining up within your solar system and beyond, with great outpourings of energy. These energy changes were about two things in a very big way. The first one is, of course, the theme of 2016, and that would be
Unity.
change. Change. No, I would say that it is the year of unity, but the energy very much that has been coming in has been all about change since the beginning of the year. So think for a moment about the changes that you have seen in this world and seen in your life this year. The changes have been about, for the most part, releasing the old in order to create a new. Changes aren't always about that, even though that might sound very, very familiar to you. So think about it for a moment. In your world, releasing the old, what old things have you seen your world releasing? Well, if you look back on it, you would say, you would probably say that there are two things that have been released the most. This is very general. It's not something to note down because it's one of those all-time wise sayings. You've been releasing in your world a lot of negativity. And you have been changing in your world toward an acceptance that shows unity and love. Releasing negativity has shown up more often than not. Well, I'm just going to be croaky today, aren't I? More often than not, as a revolution, insofar as accepting what doesn't work. Now, if you look at your country, you would have a lot of good reasons to say, we're not seeing so much of that. But expand your view out into the world. Look at what has been going on politically across your world. It has also been going on in your country, but you don't get to hear about it quite so much, thanks to the nature of your media. Tell me some things in your world and in your country that has caused people to stand up and say, we don't want this. We want something new. Susie, then Vicky.
Well, the one that's really in our faces recently is the Black Lives Matter, and then the whole Everybody Matters, the whole movement of people not no longer willing to be taken advantage of, abused, denigrated, any sort of stuff like that.
So be it.
It's Standing Rock out in North Dakota.
Yes.
The Native Americans, for all the tribes, well, not all the tribes, but every day more tribes arrive to stand up for water rights.
Good.
Also, the Canadians tribes are joining into this, and they're all coming together. They're putting aside historic battles and saying, we stand for the earth. We stand for our water.
Good.
And they're taking some heat, and also many other people are joining into those tribes to stand for it as well.
Lovely, lovely. Hi.
Not only in the African-American communities, the Black Lives Matter, but women, the treatment of women and the respect for women and women's rights has been brought to the forefront. Also with the Islamic religion, people are looking at it differently and accepting it and seeing it. It's not what the terrorists are. There's been a lot of issues around different segments of, religions and race and sexuality, just so many changes.
Lovely.
People are no longer turning a blind eye to the abuse of power that's happening in the financial sectors
Yeah.
across
Good.
the world.
Good.
So that willingness to see what is really happening. So
Very nice.
People are becoming more accepting of the various flavors of sexual fluidity.
Good, good. Aye. Many things that at one point were considered horrible are being recognized as instead the next step in human life. No longer is it acceptable to trod over one another, to sexually abuse one another, even in war, where it's all right. Your world is changing. And negativity is still there. But revolution is in front of you, where people are standing up and saying, we don't accept this as what our reality is going to be. Releasing the old is very hard. And it's hard because it's comfortable. It's safe. It would have changed long ago if the majority did not believe that. So take a moment now and think about what still needs to change. What could use energy and focus to establish a new, rather than remaining in the old? Because you see, the key to actually changing something is not just letting it go, it's replacing it with something better. So if you look into this world and you look at it and say, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this, what are you going to replace it with? What do you want instead of inequality? What do you want instead of prejudice and racism? What do you want instead of corporate rulership? What do you want? And September has been very much about change of the old paradigm, but also doors opening to the new. And the second aspect is balance. How are you creating balance in your life during this time of massive change? How are you balancing yourself as you are releasing? Because every release opens a door, and you're looking at what could be in front of you. How are you balancing your life? Very recently, I was speaking with a group of very loving and very powerful individuals, and I said to them, right now you are filled with grief. That grief will remain with you if you do not replace it with what you want to be feeling instead. And I added a bit later, look at what you see going on in the world and how you respond to it and bring balance to yourself, sometimes because of it, sometimes in spite of it, what you see over this period of time, and you are still in it, what you see that you are doing to bring balance into your life while the world is in revolution is what the world is going to be needing from you over the next few months. So I want you to be thinking, not out loud, to yourself. How am I responding to what I'm seeing in the world right now? And you just had a whole list of things that are going on in your world right now because the old is changing. How are you responding? I want you to think about your last couple of weeks. How have you responded to change? Think about what's going on in your life. Think about what has been going on in the lives of those you care about. How have you responded? Or have you reacted? Responding means conscious action. And that doesn't include staying so busy you don't have to think. Conscious action. How have you responded? You're thinking, I can almost smell the smoke. Keep it up. How have you brought balance into your life over these last couple of weeks? Because what you have done to bring balance to yourself is very important right now. You know how a dog or a cat becomes injured, and what they do to bring balance back to themselves is they go off in the corner in a kind of dark place and lick their wounds, yes? Not unusual. Humans have a tendency to do that. But you're not human. You shouldn't. Don't forget that. Your greatest balance comes from sharing your life. So how have you been balancing over these last couple of weeks?
I was diagnosed with stage 4 brain tumor last couple weeks. Had to have a discussion with my son in terms of months, not years.
That's the discussion.
Reacted, raged, pissed me off. Now, the one saving grace with my son and I is we have really warped sense of humor, which is very, very helpful. And then, of course, Jennifer comes in, and Jennifer manages. And she's my keeper right now. But the gift in all of this has been in my recovery from substance and everything for 33 years. I have never been able to see the light. And I have it all around me.
Lovely.
It's here. You guys open your world and have helped me balance. And it just keeps coming. And that's nothing that I've done because I've reacted. It's been gifted to me. And I don't know what I would have done without it. Thank you.
You know, it's very much a time for those of power to have choices in front of them. Stay, go, stay, go. Sometimes that shows up as stage 4, got 6 months, going to die. Nope, no tumors anymore. And that can happen. It does happen. Aye.
Yeah, the memory may not come back, but the rest of it might.
And sometimes it means getting to change your total experience. The only ones who don't benefit from that change are the ones who are left behind. As it's not fear so much for yourself as for your son, for your friends. This is a year of great change. How are you balancing yourself? I'm asking.
I've made an effort to be creative again, so I started started painting again, so, and also just coloring.
Aye.
Very, very relaxing.
Good.
And it allows me to be more, it allows me to get away from all the left brain thinking I have to do.
Aye.
Well, just sort of a segue from Heidi's passing, and the gift of how prepared she was, and Laura's work with her last wishes and everything made me realize that if I died, everybody would go, "Damn him! He didn't leave a thing for us to follow." And so
It's just a big mess.
yeah. So part of the balance I'm having here is I've made a list of the things that I need to do, and I'm slowly but surely getting through them.
Taking charge of one's life is a way to create balance.
It's one moment at a time.
Yes, very well.
And making the list, checking them off, organizing them, but it's 1 minute at a time.
Very good. Step by step. Step by step. Moment by moment, minute by minute, Mary.
For me, I usually try to just handle everything myself. And so what I've been trying to do is...
And very well and efficiently, that's the problem.
Because it's kind of worked. But I've tried to do some things differently, reach out to different people, share feelings, oh my God. And try to stay balanced that way, and also ask for what I need to.
Good.
So.
Lovely, Greg.
I think since Heidi passed, the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to be around people, and I wanted to share my grief and them share theirs. And I think recently, I just want to be around people. We've gone to movies, we've shared time with each other, we've shared food with each other, and that's been a big help.
Good. Really good. I want you to think about how your balance can be given to the world. Hand out crayons. How can your way of balancing be given to the world? So ideally, you've all had a few moments to think about your last couple of weeks and what you've done to balance, or maybe what you haven't done, but could, to balance. Now, I want you to take it that next step and think about how to give that in the world. It could be simply sustaining your own balance while the world around you is out of balance. But you're consciously thinking about something specific you could do is going to be necessarily empowering now. Because you're coming upon a very important time. You're now in October, and you're looking at Samhain, the end of the old year and the beginning of the new. The time in which the grid, also called the veil, is most accessible. A time in which the spirit you are is going to grow stronger, and you are going to be more in tune with the spirit world. There are two things that keep you from fully experiencing your spiritual nature: fear and disbelief, and they kind of work together. Fear. Anything from, I don't talk to any ghosts. Hate to tell you. To your own fear of harm or improper activity. Most humans fear pain unless you actually are a human in pain. Do you understand what I just said there? People who actually live with pain don't fear it. Just deal with it. It's those who don't deal with it who fear it. And that is no different from physical pain to the pain of loss. Because you're fearing suffering. You don't know if you're strong enough to manage without suffering. And ultimately, with pain, that is what you're fearing. How many of you have said, I really want a difficult, tragic death that expands over days at a time and is filled with pain and misery? I'm looking forward to it.
It's not so much now.
No, you, you probably said, no, it's fine. Thank you, love. You probably said, I want it quick. I want it painless. If it's any help, that's what Hades was. Very quick, very painless. Gone very fast. You don't want to suffer. I commend you for that. That's smart. Don't draw it to you, but don't fear it. Because your fear is a powerful thing. It sends out an electromagnetic pulse, more or less, that acts like a magnet and draws like energy to it. What you fear, you actively resist. What you actively resist, you are actually drawing toward you. Don't fear life. You already know, don't fear death. Your problem isn't fearing death. You fear suffering. But you fear life. So what you need is balance. And what do you need to do in your life for balance? Your world through this month is going to be looking at loss. A thousand different ways. How is it going to balance? Well, it's going to do it with your help. Because what you are feeling is going to go out there. And it's either going to add to the chaos or help the balance. I'm going to be a little harsh right now, all right? Pretend it's coming with lots of flowers and hearts and little iridescent bubbles and maybe unicorns, all right? You don't know when your portal is going to come up in front of you, and it's your opportunity to make the biggest kind of change that there is. Leaving this life. You don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, or 2 years from now, or 20. Or never. That would be essential. So being so afraid to live is not helping you. What do you do when you are loving life? What do you do when you do not fear suffering? Well, I'm going to come around it backwards. I said a moment ago that individuals who live with chronic pain aren't afraid of it. Even though human nature says fear pain. The instinctual survival mechanism says fear pain. And yet, it's not the pain itself as much as that idea of suffering, because pain, ask anyone who lives with it, is something you can adapt to. It's not the long-term, consistent, bone-on-bone pain you're dealing with that scares you. It's those intense stabs here and there, right through. Those are what you train yourself with. Those are the negative reinforcements that you direct your life around so that you won't experience them. And yet, because of that, it controls you. I'm not saying adapting to a life of suffering is the spiritual thing to do. By no means. In fact, I discourage that. I am saying, however, that your fear of suffering keeps you from living. And that suffering shows up as the repression and the prejudice and the pain and the suffering that this world is working so hard to change. At this time of new beginnings, at this time of releasing the old that does not work, at this time of great empowerment and strength and joy, you need to be making choices. Choices about what you do want in your life, where you do want to go with it, what you consider living fully. Hattie's death was a great turning point for many. Facing such a deep loss is very painful. But you are seeing how pain is mitigated by being with people you love. this is an important time to make sure that you are part of a community of love. And that you're not the mom or the dad of that community, comforting and helping everybody through their changes, but sharing nothing about your own. You either live in a friendly, loving community who knows and accepts you, or you don't. And if you don't, you need it. You need it. September was a revolution. October is the evolution based on that revolution. So what are you doing in your life for balance, for community? To share yourself with this world. Because that is what is going to be asked of you throughout this month. You can choose the road of suffering. It's a very human thing to do. Drama, anger, and closed doors. Because that's the road to fear, and that's what it brings you. Or you can choose to embrace the change. Use your strengths. And make sure that those around you know your love and know that you are there to receive it back as well. Balanced giving and receiving, light and dark, seen and unseen. That's what you're going to be seeing this month. So what are you doing to bring balance into your life? All right? See you soon. Look in the mirror.